Hi. Hi there. Yeah, I know I'm a little bit early this time, but I really wanted to share some things with you. And I had a little bit of spare time this evening, so I figured I'd just get right on here, get it taken care of. So tonight I want to tell you a story about my very first car, but I have to back it up a little bit and tell you about getting my driver's license. Oops, the table's a little bit shaky. And I know most teenagers, when they turn of age for driver's license, they're really anxious and excited to get their driver's license. In my case, that wasn't me. I didn't really care about having a driver's license. And part of the reason for that was because I knew that my parents would not buy me a car. I would have to get a job and work and pay for it myself. And I didn't have a job at that time. So I wasn't really overly caring about when I turned 15 to get my driver's license. Well, we were living in California at that time, but we moved to Missouri. And as soon as we came out here to Missouri, my grandfather told my parents, "You really need to get these two older girls a driver's license. They can be a lot of help to you taking their mom around places." Because my dad worked and my mom didn't drive. So she had to depend on him to take her where she went. So my grandpa's thinking was if we had the driver's license and a car that we could take my mom places. So he took us around to get our driver's license. And like I said, I wasn't really that interested in it. In fact, when I was in California, I had driver's ed class that I took, and I didn't even really do good in that. And part of that was because I just took the class to get the credit for my grades, and I didn't really care if I passed or not. So I basically just goofed around in class and didn't really apply myself to get the driver's eds to high score. So when it went time to take my driver's license, I did not pass it in several towns. There was different towns that had the test on different days, and my grandfather would take us to different towns: Kennett, Malden, Campbell, Dexter, any place where they had driver's license on different days, and I never passed it. Or I would pass the written part and then I would flunk the driving part. And then they only give you a certain amount of time to go back and take it again, and if you don't, then you got to take the written over again. And that's basically what happened to me. But I did finally pass it in another town. Like I said, I was 15 and I didn't have a car. I had the driver's license, but I didn't have no car, so it was really of no use to me. And then I got married at 16, and my husband and I had a car together. And I drove that car whenever I needed something. Usually he took the car to work with him when I wasn't working, but I did eventually get a job. So when I got a job was when I decided that I needed my own car. So the car that we had, which was my husband's and my car together, that became his car. And that was a 69 Chevy Seville. It was silver. And he drove that. And I began to look around for a car for me to drive so that I could get to my job. I was working nights at a factory there in town, and I went in at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So my husband worked days, so he could take me to work when he got off work, and then I had to boom a ride home from somebody. So I knew eventually I was going to have to get my own car. So I began to look around at different places to try to find a car that was suitable for me, one that I could afford to pay cash for or make payments. And there was a town about probably 30 to 45 minutes away from me that had a little tiny private owned car lot that had some older model secondhand cars there. It was pretty good, decent shape. And I found one there that I really, really liked for a good price. Actually, it was a fairly new car. I think this was probably back like in 74 or 75. And the car that I actually got was a 71. So it was only like 3 or 4 years old. It wasn't very old. But, and I wished I would have kept it. Everybody probably always says that, oh, I wish I would have kept my first car that I ever had. I wished I would have. It been probably worth some money today. But it was a 1971 Camaro, two-door, blue with a black vinyl top. And I think it had an 8-track player in it. I'm not sure. If it didn't have an 8-track player in it, I know that we ended up putting an 8-track in it because that was the popular thing at that time for music was an 8-track. But we may have put one in it. But anyway, that was the car that I got that I drove to work on the nights that I went in. That way my husband could have his car and I had mine. And I really, really liked that car. I was proud that I was able to have that car and make payments myself for it. And like I said, I wished I would have kept it, but, and this is another story for another time, eventually my husband and I separated, and I had a boyfriend, and the boyfriend that I was with at the time, he decided the car was not a good thing for him because he liked to go fishing and he couldn't put the fishing poles in the car. I guess he didn't have a vehicle. I don't remember if he did or not. But anyway, stupid me, I let him talk me into taking my little blue Camaro and trading it for a pickup truck, which had a higher payment on it. It was a nice newer model pickup truck, and I ended up making the payments on it, of course. His deal was, oh, well, it'll be our truck together, and if something happens and we split up, then you get to keep it, but don't worry about that because we're never going to split up. Of course, you know the end of that story. That always happens. He took it and had these real fancy chrome wheels put on it and had it all decked out, fancy. And it did have an 8-track in it, I do remember. We didn't even have to put one of those in there. It had an 8-track in it. And it was red. It was a red Chevy. And that was what we took when we went fishing. I went fishing with him. He didn't leave me at home. We'd get up early in the morning, put the fishing poles in the back, and we'd go over to the lake and go fishing all day. But I regret now that I let him talk me into getting rid of my Camaro because we didn't last very long. Probably, I don't even know if we lasted a year. We might have, but it wasn't too long after that we broke up. So anyway, that's the end of my story for tonight, and this video is getting a little long, so I'm going to have to go ahead and stop it now. And I just want to thank you guys for coming back to my channel and visiting me and let me talk to you and share. This is the day after Thanksgiving, and I had a really good Thanksgiving. I actually probably overdid it, but I survived. I survived all the good food and stuff. I had a little tiny Thanksgiving dinner here at the house by myself. But I just really want to thank you guys for stopping at my channel, and just come back anytime. And thanks again. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.